For over 2 decades, the International Space Station has been humanity's permanent home in space, orbiting Earth every 90 minutes, non-stop. But now NASA has confirmed something historic. The ISS era is approaching its final chapter, with retirement planned around 2030. This doesn't mean the station will be abandoned, drifting like space junk. NASA is planning a controlled, carefully managed end. The goal is simple: bring the ISS down safely, without risking people on Earth, and without leaving dangerous debris behind. For many, the ISS feels eternal, but in reality, it is an aging structure built from modules launched decades ago. The station has survived extreme radiation, micrometeoroid impacts, temperature swings, and constant mechanical stress in orbit. NASA has repeatedly upgraded the ISS, repairing and replacing systems to keep it alive far longer than originally planned. Yet even the strongest engineering has limits. Metal fatigue, aging seals, and wear in critical systems are becoming unavoidable. By 2030, maintaining the ISS will be more difficult, more expensive, and more risky than ever before in its long history. That's why NASA has chosen to move forward, closing one era of spaceflight while preparing for something completely different. The International Space Station is not just a laboratory. It is the most successful space cooperation project ever built. It united the United States, Russia, Europe, Japan, and Canada into a single orbital partnership, even during political tensions. Astronauts from multiple nations lived together, trained together, and survived together in the harshest environment imaginable. The ISS proved that long-term human life in orbit is possible, not just for weeks, but for months and even years. Inside its modules, scientists studied human bones, muscles, blood, and brain changes caused by long exposure to microgravity. It also enabled research in physics, biology, robotics, medicine, and material science that could not happen anywhere on Earth. Many breakthroughs in water recycling, air purification, and life support technology were refined aboard the station. Even today, the ISS remains one of the most valuable tools for preparing astronauts for future missions beyond Earth orbit. But the biggest surprise is not the retirement itself. The real shock is what NASA plans to replace it with. Instead of building another massive government-run station, NASA is stepping back and letting private companies take over. In the future, commercial space stations will dominate low Earth orbit, owned and operated by private corporations. NASA will no longer be the landlord. It will become a customer paying for space, services, and research access. This marks a huge shift in strategy. It's like NASA is handing over Earth orbit to industry and moving outward. The agency wants to focus its main budget on deep space exploration, the Moon, Mars, and missions far beyond. Low Earth orbit has become crowded with satellites, private launches, and commercial activity, making it less of a frontier. NASA believes the next frontier is not just orbiting Earth. It's building sustainable presence on the Moon and beyond. The Artemis program is already pushing this plan forward, with NASA preparing lunar landings and future lunar bases. But to achieve that, NASA must free resources. Running the ISS costs billions each year in operations and maintenance. Ending the ISS program could redirect that funding into advanced spacecraft, lunar infrastructure, and long-duration Mars technology. Still, NASA knows one thing. It cannot lose the ability to do microgravity research, training, and testing in orbit. That is why commercial stations are essential. They will keep humans living in low Earth orbit without NASA running everything. Several companies are already competing to build the next generation of orbital platforms, smaller but more modern than the ISS. These stations will likely be modular, expandable, and designed for science, manufacturing, tourism, and astronaut training. Unlike the ISS, they could also be built with newer materials, better shielding, and far more efficient power systems. For the first time, space stations may become something like airports in orbit, places used by many organizations, not just governments. NASA's role would shift into purchasing time, experiments, and astronaut training slots, similar to buying tickets on commercial flights. This could also reduce long-term costs, because private operators will seek profit through multiple customers, not one funding source. And the customers won't just be NASA. Universities, biotech firms, defense agencies, and tourism companies could all join in. That means low Earth orbit could become a true commercial economy, with stations acting as hubs for research and industry. But the retirement of the ISS is still emotional because it represents the end of a symbol that defined modern space history. For millions, the ISS was the proof that humans could permanently live above Earth, watching continents pass beneath their feet. It became a cultural icon, appearing in documentaries, science fiction, classrooms, and live streams that showed life in orbit. Astronauts recorded spacewalks, floating experiments, and emotional messages that inspired an entire generation of future scientists. Even now, the station is visible from the ground, a bright moving star reminding people that humans are still out there. When it finally leaves the sky, the world will feel that absence, like losing a lighthouse that guided humanity's imagination. NASA insists the station will not become a hazard. Its final descent will be controlled, planned, and internationally coordinated. The ISS will be guided into Earth's atmosphere, where most of it will burn up from extreme heat at re-entry speeds. The remaining fragments will fall into a remote area of the ocean, likely the same region used for previous spacecraft re-entries. This process is designed to avoid populated areas, ensuring that the retirement does not create a disaster on Earth. Yet the true danger is not physical. The real risk is losing continuous human presence in orbit if replacements are delayed. If commercial stations are not ready on time, there could be a gap where humanity temporarily loses its permanent orbital home. NASA is working to prevent that scenario by funding development programs and partnerships to keep orbital platforms active. Because the ISS is not just science, it's a training ground. Every Mars mission depends on experience gained in orbit. Long-duration life support, radiation monitoring, isolation effects, and emergency repairs are all lessons learned on the station. Without that training environment, future deep space crews would face higher risks, especially on multi-year missions. That is why NASA is pushing for commercial replacements before the ISS retirement becomes irreversible. The station's retirement also changes geopolitics. The ISS was one of the few places where rival nations cooperated daily. Once it is gone, international cooperation may shift toward new platforms, new partnerships, and possibly new rival stations. Space is entering a new age where private corporations, not governments, could become the main builders of orbital civilization. That sounds futuristic, but the transition is already happening. NASA's commercial cargo and crew programs prove the model works. SpaceX, Boeing, and other contractors already carry astronauts and supplies, showing NASA can rely on private industry for transport. Now, the same idea is expanding from rockets to entire orbital habitats, turning stations into commercial infrastructure. If successful, the ISS will be remembered as the bridge between the government space age and the commercial space era. It was the platform that taught humanity how to live in orbit, how to cooperate globally, and how to survive long-term. And in a strange way, the ISS ending is not a failure. It is proof that it worked and its mission is complete. The next decade may bring stations built for tourism, industrial production, artificial gravity research, and massive scientific discovery. So when the ISS finally falls from the sky, it won't be the end of human spaceflight. It will be the beginning of something bigger. NASA is leaving low Earth orbit behind, not because it's unimportant, but because humanity is ready to move outward. The moon will become the next stepping stone, Mars the next dream, and deep space the next test of survival. And when future humans look back, they may call the ISS the place where civilization first learned to truly live among the stars.